Time now for our Rants and Raves of the week. I'm going to start with Dan. You're on a roll here tonight, so.
I have a rave
Wow.
for Mike Dean of the State House News Service, who has started this absolutely terrific new website that is covering the Massachusetts governor's race. It's I think the address is up there now, so that's good. I don't want to try to say
#NASCA.
You don't use the hashtag, but
Okay.
other than that, that's the website. And what he's doing is he's aggregating everything he can find about the governor's race: press releases, ads, stories. And it's just one-stop shopping for anybody who's covering this race.
Save us a lot of aggravation,
job,
huh?
yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
For regular people who might like to know what's going on.
Well, it's a big time saver.
Who cares about them?
Yeah, okay.
And you're right, it enables anybody to dive
Lazy
into
reporters.
this.
Let's get going. All right. Callie.
Well, here I am on the same old hobby horse. I'm so sick of riding it, but here I must. So the Women in Media Center issued its third Status of Women in U.S. Media report, and you won't be surprised that there are just very few women still. They particularly focused on the sports arena, which is interesting since we just got done talking about this. And they say that despite the increasing prominence of women's sports and female sports sports editors are 90% male, 90% white. So there you have it. Maybe that's why Kristen Cooper has so much room there to ask those questions. And it's just not getting any better. And they cite a statistic that stuff hasn't changed, so it's really just as though we were in 1999.
I know, but we've had this conversation before, too. I mean, do women want to do these jobs?
Yeah, they want to do these jobs. And by the way, they also look at the op-ed pages again, and that's about choice and selection.
I don't know how many women want to do,
sports? Lots of women want to do sports.
They want to do color and all that, but a lot of them, do the play-by-play and all that. I don't know. I really don't know.
Well, let's just...
Or they feel unqualified because they don't know enough about the game.
No, there's plenty of women now that really know their game. They got it up. I'm not going there. I don't because I don't want to cover it. But my point is, there are people who know this, and they don't have that many opportunities, and that's what this study, in a documented way, shows you. So sometimes we talk about it. It looks like there's more because you see two of them on the sidelines, but in fact, that's it.
I don't know how it breaks down sort of high-profile sports media versus the trenches, because when I've looked at smaller newspapers, I think of the sports writers as 70-year-old guys who are trying to attain glory they couldn't get in high school when they were cut from the team. But I wonder, ESPN has a lot of very high-profile women in anchor roles or sideline reporter roles, a lot more than they used to. So.
Yeah, well, a lot more than they used to is a tricky thing. And I would say that visibility, you could have two black people in one market. It looks like, whoa, taking over. But then let's look at the numbers.
Subject. All right, Adam, what do you got?
I want to give a quick rave for Boston Magazine's big profile of John Henry, the Red Sox owner and new Boston Globe owner. I have something to disclose. I have done freelance work for Boston Magazine and worked with Jason Schwartz, who was the author of this piece, but that is not why I'm raving about it. It was just a terrific read, about 5,000 words, confirmed that John Henry plans to sell the Globe's Dorchester location on Morrissey Boulevard. Also got into things like his plans for a metered paywall. And I think, in addition, Henry is a kind of a tough guy to figure out. I think we're all still working on it, and it gave you a little more sense of what this man is like, what drives him. It was a great piece. People should read it if they haven't already.
All right.
Really good stuff.
Susie, you're up.
All right, well, we'll go from the sublime to the ridiculous. So I don't know how many of you have been following the BuzzFeed thing, but BuzzFeed did this profile about Trump, and he was, not surprisingly, unhappy about it. McKay Coppins, one of their sort of up-and-coming political reporters, did this sort of ungenerous profile, I would say, and it had a point of view, the point of view being that Donald Trump is ridiculous. And, no one was surprised that Donald Trump sort of went crazy on Twitter and, to anyone who would hear him. But what really was disappointing is that Breitbart Media, which is an opinion organization, but still, to some degree, a journalistic organization, spent just an enormous amount of time and energy tearing down the personal life of this reporter. At one point, look, this headline says it all. Trump, scumbag BuzzFeed blogger, ogled women while he ate bison at my resort. I mean, this is just outrageous. At one point, there were 4 articles. It was the entire front page of Breitbart News was dedicated to sort of tearing down this guy personally. I just thought it just wasn't nice.
Is he funding them? I mean,
yeah,
what's the
I don't
deal
know.
there?
I mean, that's what I couldn't figure out. It's like, I know they're like conservative.
I was thrilled.
No, are you going to?
I know McKay. He's a Mormon, for God's sakes. And I think that what the quote was from a waitress saying that he was looking at her like he thought she was yummy. I don't even know what that means.
Now, were you suggesting
I'm sure he wasn't looking mean, I've met McKay. I've worked with him briefly.
Yeah.
Like, he doesn't look at people like they're young.
Are you saying the Breitbart.com site did not live up to its usual standards?
Yes, it did not live up to my usual
Speaking of not
expectations.
living up to usual standards, I'm getting a kick out of this one. Brent Bozell, who's been, a thorn in the side or a pimple on the nose of the media for decades. Turns out he is abusive. He forces his first lieutenant to write his columns, which are all these accusing the media of liberal bias and that kind of stuff. And the guy doesn't like it. He doesn't get credit for it. He's been ghostwriting his columns and his opinion pieces for all this time with no credit, no financial reward, and it's not even in the voice of he's writing in the voice of Brent, but it isn't Brent Bozell.
There was
Wow.
there was a great report about a small town paper somewhere in the Midwest where I grew up. I think it was in Iowa. But
Quad City Times.
Thank you. And the gist was no one complained when they yanked Brent Bozell's column. And they got a
yanked it.
whole raft of, suggestion. Oh, try George Will. Try Jim Garrity from National Review. No one cared.
So it's
Bozell was
interesting
gone.
that that's the only paper, though, that has pulled the column, because I think the fallout hasn't been as dramatic as I thought it would have been. It's plagiarism.
Yeah, it's pretty bad.
Yeah, it's odd.
Wow.
All right.
Learn something every day.
Okay, well, you've heard our takes. Now tell us what you think. Did NBC cross the line by airing Bodie Miller's emotional interview? Weigh in on our website, beatthepress.org.